Largest, most cosmopolitan of Canadian cities, Montreal is a major link in the global transportation network and headquarters for the world's most complete travel system. Nerve center for the Canadian Pacific Railway's widespread operations on land, at sea, and in the air is vast and vaulted Windsor Station, terminus of the world's first transcontinental railway, the oldest route, the newest trains. The Canadian stainless steel Streamliner, first dome-equipped train in Canada, is the shining symbol of a new era of travel comfort and pleasure within the borders of Canada. Step aboard for a preview visit. See how the Canadian lives up to every promise of luxury with economy. Wide picture windows line each coach. Comfortable sponge rubber upholstery invites relaxation in spacious living room atmosphere. There's room to roam in generous aisles and room to stretch out in private ease. Each reclining seat is adjustable and has a full-length leg rest. Nothing has been overlooked in making the Canadian a complete little world for the traveler. Would a snack, refreshments, or a light lunch hit the spot? That's what the Skyline Coffee Shop is there for. Gay with colorful linoleum carvings of Canadian scenes, the Skyline Scenic Dome coach is a handy, pleasant spot. In the informal tone of a smart holiday resort, in the Skyline and everywhere aboard the Canadian, unique and artistic decoration enhances the bright mood of a travel adventure. Soft music enchants the ear. Perhaps more formal dining fits in with your desires. Well, nothing has been overlooked on the Canadian. Snow-white linen and gleaming silver sparkle under a star-studded ceiling in the cleverly decorated dining room car. An attentive steward, deft and courteous waiters seem to anticipate your unspoken wish and whisk it to fulfillment. Smart supper clubs on wheels. That's as apt a description as any for these dining room cars with a difference. But that's only part of the mealtime story. Of course, behind the scenes, the shining kitchen holds the twin keys to sheer dining pleasure, the finest food and the skilled hands of the best of cooks, the choicest cuts, the freshest fish, the most prized delicacies for any palate, distinctive Canadian dishes. Could appetite ask for more? A delicious dinner is not necessarily the end of a pleasant day. Perhaps it is the beginning of a pleasant evening. The club-like decor of the Mural Lounge, each with its mural by an outstanding Canadian artist, is an invitation to friendly conversation with new acquaintance or with tried and true traveling companion. Sharing the same scenic dome car with the Mural Lounge is the main lounge with free-moving easy chairs, deep carpeted floor, beautifully draped picture windows that give a front row view of all outdoors, where the scenic splendors of a continent glide by in passing show. Topside from your seat in the high-level scenic dome awaits an even more spectacular view of the kaleidoscope of color in motion that features every transcontinental trip by the Canadian. No other vantage point compares for a close-up look at the fabulous panorama that is Canada, spread out like a map before your eyes. The route of the Canadian is not new. It was the route of the earliest explorers and is the route of adventure still. Your travel adventure begins at Windsor Station in Montreal, aboard this newest train, with all space, even coach seats, individually reserved. Early reservation is the only requirement for those who want to enjoy the greatest experience railway travel can offer. Once aboard, passengers settle into the roomy quarters with guaranteed privacy and comfort. Less than 3 days away lie Vancouver and Canada's west coast. In between, the prospect of easy, fun-filled days, superb meals, restful nights, and continually changing scenic beauty. The announcement all aboard and the silently closing door are enough to send a shiver of anticipation through the most experienced traveler. Almost 3,000 miles of track ahead, 3 times 3,000 sights to see. Marquette set out for the west on this same path. LaSalle, too, and Radisson, Champlain, Mackenzie, Fraser, and Joliet followed the parallel river road with the sun. All of them saw the glories of the New World, but not like this. They beat a path across a wilderness, not seeing or even foreseeing the Canada that lies now between Atlantic and Pacific tides. Only 2 hours out of Montreal, the Canadian glides beside the historic Rideau Canal into Ottawa, Canada's capital. Dominated on the high bluff above the river by the reaching spires of the nation's parliament. Quickly the scene changes as the Canadian crosses the Ottawa River and prepares to make its long reach up the beautiful timber valley that leads into Ontario's Northland. Now the miles roll smoothly and silently by. Now, too, something unusual is taking place. In Toronto, far to the south and about 300 miles west of Montreal, another train, also the Canadian and also bound for Vancouver, is gathering its passengers and getting ready to roll. Here again, the same ultra-modern equipment, the luxurious dining room cars, the cozy bedrooms, the gaily decorated lounges, and commanding a view of all that passes, the same spectacular scenic domes with windows that turn the whole outdoors into one constant but constantly changing display. Through every inch of its length, from the quiet of the Dome Lounge observation car to the powerfully humming diesels way up front, the Canadian is tailored for efficiency, safety, comfort. By now, the train is home to everyone aboard. The friendly porter has become a familiar face. The cheery call to dinner promises a welcome treat. The setting sun heralds a restful night, prelude to a new, exciting day. Sure enough, morning finds that the untiring scene shifters for the transcontinental stage have brought up an entirely new backdrop. Twisting, winding, weaving along the fantastic rugged north shore of Lake Superior, the Canadian snakes its way over some of the hardest-won trackage in the world and past some of the world's most mushrooming industrial development. Lumber towns, pulp mills, mines, whole new settlements that have blossomed in one short decade provide an insight into Canada's growth, the growth that demands the kind of transportation progress that the Canadian exemplifies. Through tunnels, over bridges, along the rocky coast of the world's largest lake system, travelers are enthralled by the vastness, the variety, the sheer quantity of nature's loveliness. Gliding around the wide arc of Jackfish Curve, the Canadian adds its own sweeping line of functional beauty to the scenic dome's field of vision. And then, seemingly in the heart of nowhere, up springs a modern station. A reminder, as is the brand new paper mill in the distance, that Canada's booming progress is more than city deep. But all the activity along Superior's North Shore isn't centered only in the newest developments. The twin lakehead cities of Fort William and Port Arthur, long established and always energetic, continue to play their vigorous role. Center for manufacturing and natural resources, the cities also serve as junction point for land and water carriers between east and west. Ships of the Great Lakes White Fleet have Fort William as their northern terminus and join forces with transcontinental trains to give passengers the option of a combination rail and water journey across Canada. Less than half a day out of the lakehead, the Canadian rolls smoothly into the largest privately owned railway yards in the world. Winnipeg, spacious capital of the province of Manitoba, gateway to the west, and leaves in the dusk of early evening, ready for a fast, smooth run across the prairies. First morning light finds the stainless steel Streamliner deep into the unobstructed straightaway across the prairie grainlands, through golden Saskatchewan wheat fields. Mile after mile, the generous granary of half a continent stretches out on both sides. Periodically, elevators, unmistakable symbols of rich grain country, loom up like monster mileposts. The far horizon is the only limit to the sunny vista. It's hard to believe that a few short hours will see the shining train threading its way through mountain-shaded valleys. But already, gently rolling grazing land is replacing the prairie's golden levels, and the old west, new west liveliness of Calgary makes you welcome. Everything else takes second place when stampede fever gets a grip on Calgary. From the city's cowtown origins and its remembered links with the Old West of red-coated Mounties and brightly clad Indians, there stems a flavor of rich excitement that's hard to match anywhere on Earth. Beyond Calgary, the tumbling waters of the Bow River and the green Alberta foothills show more promise of the shining mountains that lie ahead. It's a familiar path for the Canadian, but for passengers, the approach to the Rockies is a time of high anticipation. Experienced travelers know the wondrous beauties that are to come. First-timers watch with undisguised excitement for the earliest sight of the storied peaks and deep cleft valleys. Will it be, can it be, as thrilling a spectacle as people say? The answer is not long in coming, and for every adventurer with an eye for beauty, it is a resounding yes. Glistening waters of clear mountain lakes vie for attention with such famous rock formations as the Three Sisters. This is park country, game reserve. The sharp-eyed watcher from the scenic dome has only the sky for a limit to the wonders of nature he will see. Bands of elk roam these woods, and clambering bear cubs call this rocky forest land their playground. And now, with bewildering change of pace, the fabulous mountain-locked resort town of Banff adds new beauty to the scene. Here indeed is one for the record, a baronial castle, a luxurious hotel set in a wilderness frame. In a lavishly landscaped fragment of the mountain country's rugged vastness, renowned Banff Springs Hotel extends its offer, its promise of the finest kind of holiday enjoyment to be found. Nothing has been overlooked, just as in the Canadian, in an all-out effort to provide the best. Nature has made the setting with generous hands. At Banff and in the mountains that enclose its beauty, with more beauty still, there is an answer for those who want to find the perfect place for restful relaxation. The spell is cast for anyone who passes through. Come again, the magic mountains seem to say. You must and will come back again. Deep in the rocky fastness of the shining mountains, every scenic dome seat holds an enthralled sightseer. Impressive Mount Eisenhower in the distance beckons from among surrounding craggy peaks. And now, a new player comes on the scene as the eastbound Canadian flashes by. Many complete units of the famous train are needed to keep up the speedy, everyday, each-way service. Off again, alone once more in the silent shadows of the high ranges, the Canadian draws closer to the heart of the Canadian Rockies. Every minute brings a new change of scenery, an unending series of breathtakingly beautiful backdrops on nature's limitless stage. As though the spectacular mountains were not enough, such splendors as renowned Lake Louise and its equally famous chateau emerge from behind rocky walls. Tailored lawns and brilliant flowers match their fragile beauty against the rugged, jutting peaks that form their borders and make a restful garden spot, secluded, peaceful. From Lake Louise to Field, less than an hour's run, the Canadian's path is an amazing concentration of spectacle and excitement. It is here, near the highest point on the line, a full mile above sea level, that the gleaming Streamliner glides gracefully through the long S-curve that is the unforgettable, almost unbelievable setting for pictures of the train that all the world has seen. Dome riders can understand the big train's preening moment, share its mood. Immediately, a new drama unfolds. This is the Big Hill. No other identification is necessary for railroad fans. The Canadian runs down to the two spiral tunnels that drop its track more than 100 feet in less than a mile, through the hearts of massive mountains. Between the two tunnels, each of them affording an almost complete reversal of direction, the track crosses the violent Kicking Horse River. Gliding out of the second tunnel, the train crosses the Kicking Horse again, then gathers speed for the fast run through Yoho National Park into Field, British Columbia. The Canadian stops at the divisional point at Field in daylight. Darkness falls, casting its blanket over the last of the big peaks to be seen before morning brings the Pacific coast within reach. First light finds the train speeding down the canyon of the Fraser and its broad, fertile valleys into Vancouver. Here, almost 3,000 miles from her starting place, the width of a continent behind her, the Canadian reaches journey's end. Canada's West Coast metropolis has many parts to play. Gateway to the Orient, South America, and the South Pacific. The city is the Western Canadian Pacific focal point for its land, sea, and air services. It is, as well, a city of beautiful homes, happily set between mountains and the sea. Broad beaches beckon through long, warm seasons to home folks and visitors alike. And always the vast Pacific with its challenging reaches toward the setting sun. Daily, that challenge is picked up by Canadian Pacific Empresses of the Air, serving Canada and linking 5 continents. By princesses of its British Columbia Coast Fleet, serving the Evergreen Playground and Alaska. And daily, too, the wide-flung continent to the east is linked and linked again with the West Coast Gateway by the Canadian, across the twin steel threads that weave the Canadian pattern between Atlantic and Pacific tides.